Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PlotCast. I am your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sandbrook, and today we've got a good topic for you.
We sure do.
So, last week, we went on a little bit of a tirade halfway through about Star Wars. Because Star Wars itself has put itself in such a horrible position.
Yes.
The movies have been declining, their shows have been declining, people are voicing their opinions, and most of us feel the same. That they're catering to the wrong audience. You're not catering to the fans. You're just catering to you know people so that you don't have any negatives attached to your movie. But then that brings the entire thing down. And while we got back on topic, we felt more needs to be said. So today we're going to be discussing the current state of Star Wars.
So, if anybody out there is like me, you grew up on Star Wars. It was, I'm 39. I'm about to be 40, just for reference here. And when I was a kid, I grew up on
Old
4 or
man.
5, and yeah, I know I got the grays. I got the grays, but I grew up on 4, 5, and 6, which is A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And that was the golden years for Star Wars. And then we got more Star Wars with the special editions in 97. And then surprisingly, we actually got even more Star Wars, which is what technically everybody wanted in the first place.
Yeah,
But
a Christmas episode.
no, that was it. That was in 76. No, sorry,
Yeah. How
78 when
much
that
fun
came
was
out.
that? Wasn't that one of the most poorly reviewed Star Wars pieces?
Yeah. George, so bad that George Lucas decided to bury it. But if it's out there, people can find it, and they have. You can find it bootleg somewhere. In fact, you can see it on YouTube. I strongly suggest you don't. But yes, go that came out in 78. But we got, like I was saying, we got more Star Wars in 99 with episode 1. And needless to say, when I first saw it in theaters, I think I was like 13, 14, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's great." It did not age well, and as I got older, I was like, "Wow, this is like the worst of the new trilogy," which was
Yeah, you
1,
know
2,
what
and
the
3.
best part about number one
Darth
was the
Maul?
movie Fanboys.
Oh, that too, yes.
What if it sucks?
We don't talk about that, even though we're here to talk about that. Funny how that works. But then 2 came out. It was better. It was more just a romance story, which is still kind of weird because Padme
Oh, it
is
was the
still
worst written
older.
romance of all TV. I think the only thing worse was Twilight.
I haven't watched it, so I'm thanking God for that one. And then 3 came out, which ended up being the best out of the prequel trilogy, which thank God we got something awesome out of that. But for a while, the older fan base, which, like I said, I grew up with 4, 5, and 6, but it's really my parents I grew up with 4, 5, and 6, and they were the ones who were kind of more to 1, 2, and 3 because it was kind of a little bit more child oriented, which I get. George Lucas always said, Star Wars is for the kids, but
Yeah,
the
that's why
fan,
it's so political, right?
yes, but the fans kind of like, in unison were like, it's not that bad, and then that was all before the dark times, before the Empire. Disney, we're looking at you. Not saying that everything Disney has done is bad. I will say that a lot of the stuff that
They started off strong. I mean, the reviews for Force Awakens was mostly positive, I think. To try to think back to that time, I remember seeing it and loving it, even though it was more of a love letter than a continuation, or so it felt.
exactly it was
It, you
fan
know,
service to the
yeah,
max.
everyone's first initial complaint was that it was like a remake of Episode 4.
Correct.
And in a sense, yes. On paper, yes. But obviously, it introduced new characters. Um, and, there was a strong change, because they kind of portrayed Finn, at least in the trailers, as he was going to be the new Jedi, showing him with the lightsaber. And then, you get to see the movie and it's flipped on its head, which I was fine with.
Yeah.
I know some people like, oh, great, a girl, or this, that, and the other. There was controversy, and there always is.
Yeah.
There's always people who aren't going to be satisfied. But do we really want, the whole new thing to be another Luke and, just the same thing over and over?
No, we got
Eh,
most of that in the movie.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Luke came back anyway, although,
Kinda.
yeah, wasn't great. Even Mark Hamill has voiced strongly against what was done, but needless to say, he did continue in the saga. And well, he's still doing it. He's back in Mandalorian, which has been one of the more positive steps, I
Yeah,
believe.
agreed.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think every scene that you see Luke in, you're just excited to watch.
Oh,
Even,
100%.
yeah, even when it's just him, either training Grogu or this, that, and the other. It's just, even if it's what would be considered a dull moment, it's never dull with Mark Hamill.
Now to keep in mind that Mark Hamill was there on set, he did the scene, and then his body double did the scene as well. So, he is there doing it, and he's also there not doing it at the same time. So,
Right.
we do realize that, people. But, it Mark Hamill was as Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker, I could probably say, was my first real like childhood hero growing up. So it's like I always wanted to be Luke Skywalker, man. Green lightsaber, force powers, hero. Oddly enough, he didn't get the girl, at least in the movie sense, which is good because the girl in that sense was his sister, but he didn't get a girl.
Yeah,
Unless
he's
you
not a
read that.
Targaryen, so
Yeah, unless you read the comics or whatever, the old expanded universe, which had Mara Jade, but
she
that's,
doesn't exist anymore.
I mean, who knows? She might in some future form. Disney likes to pull. That's one thing I will say about Disney. They did irritate a lot of people with, okay,
Removing all canon.
yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, George Lucas didn't technically consider the book. George Lucas really considered, episodes 1 through 6 as canon, and that was it. He did give a slight kind of canon note to The Force Unleashed, just the first one,
Yes.
and that was it. That was like the furthest you got of any other piece of uh material to
Aren't
come
we
into his thing.
getting a Star Killer?
The rumors are is that Starkiller might be in Ahsoka season 2 as the new brother or the new father or whatever, which if you saw Clone Wars, Sam Witwer played like the brother or whatever. So it makes sense, but then again, the character of Starkiller being the new brother, I don't know. I'd have to see how it's done because the way they handled Ahsoka season 2, I mean season 1, the first, it was kind of okay in the beginning. Then you get to the middle of the show, you're like, okay, it's good, it's gotten better. And then when you get to like the final episode with spoiler alert, oh yeah, if you haven't seen Star Wars by now, or up to date with Star Wars. Sorry, even Chris hasn't been up to date, but Chris, spoilers.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, by the end of it, you get
Space zombies.
space zombies, and it was just like, not that it is like unheard of in Star Wars to kind of have that happen. The way they went about it and the way it looked was so cheesy. I was like, really, you had to do it like this? Like there could have been.
Zombies in
There could have been
space.
such a better way of doing it, and they did not, and it just looked so janky and horrible on the screen. I was like, "Yo, shoot me now." um, but yeah, that was a little bit of a faltering point there. But the Thrawn stuff was great, and that, and because of that, we're getting the Ahsoka season 2. We're gonna get the Mandalorian Grogu, and I think possibly big movie to kind of tie that up. It's kind of like they're giving everybody the Thrawn,
build
that they
up.
wanted out
Yeah.
of the old EU, and kind of doing the Disney thing where, like we were saying, they pull little things out of the old, you know, side canons
Catalog. Yeah.
that they destroyed when they bought Disney, which in my, when they bought Disney, when they bought Star Wars, which in my opinion was good. I honestly prefer that because George Lucas, like I said, George Lucas himself didn't consider any of that canon other than possibly the Force Unleashed, the first game, and then everything else was kind of like it's there. It's like a side history that could or could not be. He left it in the gray area, but if he's not willing to confirm it, then to me that it makes sense. It's not really his vision. He let other people have their vision. His vision was episodes 1 through 6. That's it. Even though he had like 12 movies planned originally, and
Right.
he kept going back and forth with what he wanted to do, and I think it was just kind of like he sat back and was like, "This is gonna take forever," and that's why he sold it in the long run, I'm sure. Um, which he regrets it. He might not say it, but he does. Um, but yes, going back to what I was saying. Um, I like how Disney kind of pulls the things that people really liked and tries to weave it in to make it work in the new canon that they've created. Yes, going back to the new movies, the dark times. We'll call this is what we're gonna call. We're gonna call episodes 7, 8, 9 the dark times in Star Wars. Because really, Solo was a good movie. Rogue One was a good movie. Even episode 7 was a good movie, and I'm gonna get murdered right now by everybody and say that I loved episode 8. Aside from the fact I know the flaws that are in it, I wish I could take things out and make it make more sense. But to me, out of the new trilogy, that was the best movie. um, Going on and
Uh,
finishing my story there, I feel like if they would have taken out the whole casino thing and the whole,
it's
um,
speed up and stop. Speed up and stop.
yes,
It's speed up and
yeah,
stop. That's the whole movie.
yeah, if they would have taken out the whole casino thing and really tightened in the whole, being space corralled, I guess you could call it, the movie probably would have been decent. Even the fact that Luke died, I felt Luke's character made sense for what they were trying to prove. They were trying to prove a fact that, you know, Luke kind of realized he was wrong. And yes, I know old canon people are gonna be like, "Oh, Luke was never gonna be corrupted or whatever. Or why would he do this, this, and that?" I'm like, well, Episode 6 really does show that he could be going towards the dark side. I mean, he force chokes the Gamorrean guards, so hey, I'm just saying. Um, but really, the reason why Luke didn't turn to the dark side, in my opinion, is because he chopped off his own dad's hand at the end and realized, that to me was like click in his head, like, oh, whoa, wait a second, I went a little too far here.
You could argue that he was just disarming him.
Yeah, he was disarming him, but if you paid attention to his rage that he was having, he cut off his hand, and if you pay attention, that's the moment where Luke kind of like has a aha moment where he like looks at his own hand and does one of these, and that's when he decides, no, this is what am I doing? I'm about to kill my own dad for what? I really like that, but that shows that Luke did have those tendencies, and it's not in Episode 8. To me, it wasn't that Luke was having those evil tendencies against his own nephew. It was that he sensed something dark in him, and he thought, probably in his own mind, the only way I can end this is to defeat.
Run away and never talk to anyone for the next 20 plus years.
No, I'm saying beforehand when he goes to try and kill his nephew, quote unquote, kill his nephew, because he doesn't, because he has that moment of, oh crap, what am I doing? Before he does it, all he really does is he turns on his lightsaber. And in that moment of turning it on, it was really him reflecting, like, what am I doing? But, Star Wars is from a point of view, which,
It just doesn't make
Ben's point,
sense for him
Ben's
to
point of
go.
view
It
was,
just
holy
didn't
shit, he's
make
trying to kill me.
right. Right, and it doesn't make sense for Luke, being the person that he was, to not apologize. Even
Well,
if he took like a whole month to do it, 20 plus years.
well,
That's
the thing was is that if you paid attention in the movie, he didn't have time to apologize. In fact, he does say, Ben, no, because Ben looks at
I
him, and in Ben's
understand, but you
eyes,
know what else he could have done?
I don't
What?
know, talk to his sister.
I'm sure he did or
Oh,
tried
really?
to.
Because I'm pretty sure she's like, yeah, he just disappeared. No one knows where he is.
In the new comics, they explain what happens,
Well,
but
which actually gets to one of the bigger problems with current Star
which
Wars.
I agree with you. Continue. Go into
Yeah,
it.
the biggest problem is that, and I've mentioned this before on our YouTube channel, where Disney has this mentality of they'll do the homework. It's, big in this, in the Marvel universe, everything. They expect you to keep up with every single piece of media they put out, whether it be written, whether it be a movie, a TV show. You have to watch absolutely everything in order to know what's going on. And not everything is for every person. Some people may like one superhero or another superhero, or just don't have the time, funds, because it gets expensive between having a Disney Plus subscription, having to go see every movie, and it's a time thing. It's very time consuming. It becomes an issue, especially when they are saturating Disney Plus with just content after content, and
Yeah, go ahead.
with varying degrees of quality.
That's true.
So
Uh,
you could watch one thing and be like, that wasn't good at all. Maybe I don't want to watch the new Ahsoka show. Or, you know, it's taken me a long time to get through this show because it's dragging. The first season was awesome, like Andor, amazing first season. And then the second season, it's only good for the last few episodes because most of it just drags.
yeah, like I was saying, with Andor, it just felt like originally they had a plan to do, I think, 10 seasons, and then they're like, I'm not going to stay this young forever, Andor's character. We got to speed this up. So they tried to just do as much covering of his life story through one season, which I feel like you could have just kind of done maybe 2 more seasons and then called it a day. Not even that. You could have just cut the season into 2 parts. Yes, it kind of was already felt like that, even though it was technically every 3 episodes was a year or something. But the stories that were being told within that time could have, been more
They could have
congruent.
felt less disjointed. They could
Yes,
have
exactly.
had a better flow to them for sure. I think flow was the biggest issue, but also there wasn't much going on,
Yeah,
and a lot of it felt forced just to provide content because it had to be, within this year and then within this year, instead of having a free flow of these events are important. Just
yeah,
focus on these events. Um, so, yeah, I think that kind of ruined the flow, especially coming from that first season, which did also take place over a long period of time. But, it flowed well because they weren't focused on this amount of time first, and then this amount of time second, this amount of time third. It was just a flow, a story, a progression.
yeah. I remember watching like the first couple episodes. I'm like, wait, what's going on? I'm trying to figure out. Wait, how do we get to A and B? Did I miss something at the end of the first season? I don't think so. And it just was very confusing. And I love the Andor show. Season 2 was good, but like I said, or like even you said, the very last couple episodes, 5, 6 episodes, were the best part of it. And you're just kind of like, did we really have to watch these first 6 episodes to even get to here? Really, you don't. You could just skip those and just
Yeah.
go on to the last 6 episodes and be like, oh, I felt like I didn't miss a beat almost.
Honestly, it was less about Andor and more about the building of
The
the
rebellion.
resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just it felt more like, hey, here's a backstory that has nothing to do with the show, but we'll throw the main character in there and doing fancy little odd jobs for them so that it can make sense in this show.
Yeah. And it just the going back to the issue you have, which is the same thing I have, is if you're an older Star Wars fan you're going to be less inclined to try and get the full story. When I say the full story, like Star Wars, episode 1 through episode 9, and then you got everything in between, everything before, everything after. Um, and Disney's doing all that they can to kind of fill in the gaps to make everything make sense, especially with 7, 8, and 9. In my opinion, the worst movie was episode 9. And because, J.J. Abrams set up 7. Ryan, was it Ryan Johnson? It was Ryan Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson did 8. He took, he kind of built off the foundation that JJ had, but he went his own way with it. And then JJ just kind of like tried to retcon everything, give more of an excuse for everything that happened in
Yeah,
the
I
previous
think that
movie.
also was down to fans' disappointment of the second of the Disney movies. Well, I guess it wasn't the second of Disney movies because technically that would be Rogue One.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, of the mainline series. Um, it was the first of the movies that had been coming out that was it completely divided the fans.
Yes.
Either you loved it or you absolutely hated it, and there was a lot of rage online.
Yes.
So much so that some of the actors and actresses were getting hate mail,
Yep.
and then suddenly everyone who wanted to be a part of Star Wars, it was like a dream to be a part of Star Wars, right? For an actor,
Yeah.
it was just one of those things where like, hey, that would be life changing. But then it became, oh, if someone doesn't like your character, you might get death threats.
Yes, exactly. Which I don't support that at all. If you don't like something, that's
Don't
fine.
watch it.
Don't watch
Yeah,
it.
just
Yeah.
stop.
These people are
Like,
actors. They're just trying to do their job and do the best that they can to use their body and their talent to bring these characters to life from what the writers and the directors see or feel
the
in
one
their
thing I
hearts.
will say I agree with the major complaints is um, the development of characters, because the first ones introduced our characters, right?
Yes.
We had a new main trio, right? We had
Yes.
Finn, Poe, and Rey. Everyone agrees that Rey had little to zero development. There
Correct.
was no character arc. There was just, I'm powerful and watch me get even more powerful with zero training.
Yes. Even though they
Rey,
did give her some training in episode 9, but still it felt like they did that in the aftermath of the fact, which is
yeah,
what I feel like episode 9 was damage of control on episode 8, which in my opinion 9 was the worst one out of all 3 in my opinion, but
agreed.
yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Continue.
Poe kind of regressed because he was a strategist when we first met him. He was super intelligent. He was down with authority because it meant the progression of the rebellion. And then the second movie he's in, he's a completely different person. He doesn't follow authority figures, doesn't follow his orders, and just rebels the whole time against the rebellion. It didn't even make any sense, you know? And then you have Finn, who was completely set up to be something way more after the
Mhm.
first one. And he had a great character arc. He was probably one of the few that even had a major character arc because we watched him go from a defector from,
The First
stormtrooper,
Order.
the First Order, to becoming, first of all, a man of his own choices, but also, looking at the greater good and deciding that's what I'm going to do. And then the next few movies, the next movie, they just like, okay, well, we need something for him to do. Let's send him on a wild goose chase. And then the last movie almost completely forgot him.
Yeah. And that it was sad because my favorite characters were really Finn and Poe. And nothing against Ray. I liked Ray, but out of the trio, I mean, Finn
Finn
and
was
Poe.
my favorite.
Poe was
Yeah.
my favorite, then Finn, and then Ray.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
I'm even
enjoyed Poe at first in the first movie, but when he just started regressing as a character, I didn't feel connected to him at all. There was it was like he wouldn't learn from his mistakes. He just, it was like Luke's character. It was the whole, why would his character do this? It doesn't make sense from the way that his mind worked in the previous works.
Well, see, for me in episode 8, to me it made sense because, yes, at the beginning, he was just trying to show that he could save everybody in the beginning. He had disobeyed Leia, whatever, and then he kind of suffered for it. And then Leia ends up dying. And he should have been like next in command, I believe. So when this other chick took his place, realistically, it was kind of dumb on her part because
But
realistically,
not
she
sharing,
sharing the information, she was just kind of being a spiteful whatever, and it's just like, okay, if you're the boss, yeah, you want to like kind of like ground him, make him feel like crap because of what he did. Well, in my opinion, someone who's a real leader wouldn't do that because the fact
it's
that
about it's about actually winning against your enemies, not treating your subordinates as an enemy just to get back at them. That doesn't
yeah,
make sense on the grander scale of things.
yeah, and I felt like the reason that happened was like that she's the whole reason why he did what he did because like wait, Leia trusted me, why don't you? And then find out that her and Leia had some sort of history. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was ever explained, but they had some sort of, I'm sure it was explained in the novel, which goes back to the whole problem with, which we'll get into later. But that kind of goes into Finn's not Finn, Poe's kind of frustration with the whole thing. He's doing what he thinks is right. And obviously, yeah, this woman thinks Holdo is doing what she thinks is right. But in
Really, they're both in the wrong.
yeah,
It's kind of funny when you break it down like this because you go from two what should be strong characters are both just dumbasses by the end.
yeah, they're just trying to one up each other, and it's like, yo, technically at this point, you guys are the reason why. Like, if you guys just talked, maybe you guys could figure out a way to make things work instead of having to go on some random mission. That's the other problem too. They put Maz Kanata like in for a second for like a cameo because everybody liked her in the previous movie. Like, no, she should have been the person that should have just told him where to go in the first place, or
Yeah.
helped him, whatever, and then get rid of that whole casino thing. That was a whole waste of time.
Honestly,
That was
I think
Disney.
the entire movie, as far as overarching plot, should have just been changed.
Yeah.
The whole space race thing, like constantly being just out of reach of our lasers, blah, blah, blah. It just felt dumb. It didn't make any sense. And I feel like there was just a million different ways they could have approached this. Disney, like plotting this movie out. We need to keep suspense. We need it to last the whole movie, and we need them to be in constant danger. What's wrong with a standoff? Instead of running away, facing each other, holding down a location that's fortified but could be losing its fortification at any point. Like, there's just a ton of, like, I just came up with that off the top of my head. And that would instantly have made it a better, more suspenseful movie than what they had.
Yeah.
There are ways to do it. And for some reason, they chose the worst. The ones that, it's not so much it's the worst, it's that it's the one that makes the least amount of sense.
I mean, granted, we did get some cool stuff in it. I know
they did it all for a CGI moment.
I know,
and
but
that's
I mean,
what blows my mind of why you would make
they're
this
like, how are we gonna
whole
do this?
story suffer just so you can have a CGI moment for what, all of like 2 minutes, if that.
And the thing is, it's like, it was cool. Like, a lot of the stuff, that's the problem. They were like, what would be cool? Let's put that in this movie. And like, yeah, it would be cool to have Luke Skywalker come back and fight, but he's not really fighting. And it's like, see you around, kid. But then the dumb part is he dies from doing it. Yes, I get it. The whole explanation in the movie was he was disconnected from the Force for so long. By reconnecting to it and using like so much power at once, it killed him. I get that, but yes, that is dumb. But doesn't mean it wasn't cool. And I will say this: one of my favorite characters of the whole thing too is Adam Driver's Kylo Ren. Yes, he is kind of like the reverse, what they're trying to do anyway, the reverse Anakin. But yes, he did get comical when he would have his tantrums. But then again, if you look back at 1, 2, and 3 and look at Anakin, he was a whiny bitch. I'm
Yeah, he
sorry.
was.
And George Lucas wasn't the best writer. But then again, apparently neither was Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it, like a lot of people had problems with not just the main characters, but they did the side characters disservice, like Captain
Yep.
Phasma.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're gonna build something up and then just drop it at the drop of a hat.
I mean, it was almost like they did the same thing with Boba Fett. They introduce him in Empire Strikes Back, and then in Return of the Jedi, he has a few scenes and he's out quick. You know,
Yeah.
he gets knocked into the Sarlacc pit accidentally by Han Solo, and then he's gone. And then we get a shitty Disney Plus movie or TV show about it, which,
Which was basically sidelined into Mandalorian. And
yeah,
it just became the adventures of the Mandalorian, also included with Boba Fett,
Boba Fett. It was just
where
not.
he will take a bathtub for like a whole episode or two.
Yes, he loves that back to tank. I
Yeah.
need my back to. But so and then we get to episode 9, and they're all doing like, oh, how are we gonna do damage control in this movie that people hated? But the thing is, like, it was really 50-50. You know, half the people loved it. I was one of those people, even though, like I said, I do know the flaws, and I agree with the people with the flaws in the movie. You can still like something and still think it's dumb
Here's
at the
my
same time.
problem with the transition from 8 to 9 is that
Somehow,
yes, they wanted to retcon all the things people were complaining about. And that's all well and good in theory, but then there was good things that were developed in 8 and they ignored those too. Like
exactly.
the little kid who uses the force to
Yep.
like the broom, like they introducing a whole new world of force users and then going, yeah, no, let's just screw that.
Yeah, and then because the whole idea was kind of like in episode 7, it seemed like a lot of the stormtroopers were all, force sensitive people that were slowly picking off of planets and stuff like that. And they did touch on it in episode 9, I think, a little bit, but then they just kind of left things on the cutting room floor. I think Finn, I keep wanting to say Poe. I think Finn was supposed to have some Jedi scenes or something like that. Not anything spectacular, but it was supposed to be more like, hey, I do have some sort of connection with the Force. And, they just kind of scrapped all those scenes or all those ideas
Yeah.
for, in my opinion, let's do the Disney love kind of thing, and let's, you know, do a sacrificial thing, and let's bring back Palpatine for some odd reason nobody knows, which they're trying to explain now throughout Ahsoka and Mandalorian and the comics. And that's where this real issue, where we're going to go into with this whole issue.
Okay, so let's not forget the biggest like wow moment and then letdown. And that was Solo. At the end of Solo, we
Yeah.
see Darth Maul,
Yes, we
which
do.
now also leaves us to believe that the Clone Wars TV show, the animated shows, representation of him is fully canon,
Correct.
and
Which
that
it is.
he is back and good. And then they hinted that he was going to be this big thing, and then we never see him again.
Yeah. And then now that we got kind of, I mean, do you want to talk about episode 9 more, or do you want to go on to where we're
No,
going?
let's step away from the movies for a moment because the movies have not been a focus for a long time now.
Yes.
The big focus has been these TV shows. And obviously, there was controversy with The Acolyte. People were review bombing it. There
Rightly
was,
so.
yeah, there was controversy about race, about sexual orientation in the show, and this, that, and the other. But I think the biggest problems with that show was how disjointed it was. Poor writing. A lot of it didn't make sense to its own rules. Maybe they were planning on explaining more things in a second season, but the fact that it got canceled means that even if there was to be a makeup to it, it's not going to happen at this point.
Yeah, I mean they did show hints to where if they did do a second season, we'd see more about Darth Plagueis and stuff like that, which is all well and cool. It did have some good ideas in it, but the story itself didn't really work. I mean, for me, the good parts of the show were the action, and
Yes.
really that was it. Like,
Yeah, and while it was really good action, it was few and far between,
yeah,
and some of it was unnecessary, especially like at the beginning when she was hunting the Jedi. We got to see them be taken out, acting as an assassin. It didn't make sense to us, the viewer, and then when it was explained, it was still felt disjointed,
yeah,
and it felt unnecessary.
and I felt the wire fighting part of it was a little too much, because
Yeah.
yes, George Lucas was a fan of, like, the old samurai movies. He was a fan of westerns, um, old World War II kind of like movies, and he liked racing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You know,
fun fact, when he first did viewings of the very first movie, he didn't have any of the model scenes, so any of the, fighting with TIE fighters and such, or on land. So he actually filmed it with stock footage from World War II with what would be done. So whenever there would be an acting scene, and then it would cut to soldiers shooting in the battlefield, or planes dog fighting and stuff like that, for his original first cut to show his friends,
yes,
to get feedback. So yes, it's clear that that was kind of his big um, kind of just idea, where he was getting his ideas from, how he viewed the fighting was, that old style. And of course, that clearly changed when he got to the prequels.
yes,
He was more focused on CGI, which was great for the time, but there's a lot of it that is very cringeworthy,
yeah,
especially the original cuts.
yeah. And episode one is notorious for, if there's any Star Wars movie out of one, two, or three that needs a graphic overhaul, like complete redone CGI, it's episode one. I mean,
Yes,
I'm still waiting for, maybe Disney will do it. I don't think they will, but Disney's done crazier things. They'll probably do a special edition of one, two, and
eventually.
three.
Yeah.
I mean, why
I,
not milk it for
yeah,
all
because
all it's worth?
while Jar Jar Binks being a fully CG main character throughout that first move, like the first time we got to really see a full CG character throughout an entire movie in full daylight for the majority of it, while it was impressive for its time, going back, you could see that the color doesn't match, the shading doesn't match the lighting. Like, it stands out in today's, expectations for CGI.
Correct.
So it's an eyesore watching that.
Yes. And going back to the Acolyte, and we're going back to the fighting, yes, 1, 2, and 3 had the more, a little bit more fast paced fighting, as to
Look,
where
nothing is going to beat, even to like today's standards, the Darth Maul fight.
well, I mean, the Duel of the Fates fight, which Anakin and Obi-Wan kind of beat that in my opinion, but
Well, to an extent, yes. But it was, in my opinion, it was the Jedi versus the Sith. And I know you could still argue the Duel of Fates is that, but it didn't feel that way because they were both protagonists.
yeah, you were my brother, Anakin. But you had that more fast paced fighting of, these are Jedi in their prime, to where you're going back to the Acolyte, which I think was 100 years before that, and then you're going to do like wire fighting. I think that that went a little too out there. Yeah, they were trying to kind of pay homage to, like, well, George Lucas was a fan of samurai stuff, and the kind of Crouching Tiger stuff that came out that got big
Crouching
around.
Tiger, Hidden Jedi.
Yeah, that was big for when it first came out. Let's add that kind of thing to it because you know maybe that's something George Lucas would do or whatever. No, it just doesn't translate. Like water floating kind of fighting, that doesn't kind
Yeah.
of translate well. At least in my opinion, for this, for Star Wars.
But you know what does?
What?
Zombies in
That
space.
does not either. But
And
the act,
I think that was also kind of one of our big things because the Acolyte also somewhat touched on why there were zombies in space. And I think
yes.
that was kind of uh, one of those things that people are like, hey, why do we have to watch a million different things just to understand one thing? The sisters. Do you want to get into that?
All right, so I mean, if you guys, all right, so this is for the people out there that are too old or don't care enough to watch any other Star Wars content other than the movies and maybe a few shows. There was a show that came out in the early 2000s called The Clone Wars, which fills in the gap of, what happens in between episode 2 and episode 3, between,
It
the
also
Clone
built a
Wars.
lot of characters, and I think
It
that was
did.
kind of like its major thing is that not only does it bring back Darth Maul, which
Yes.
is a major thing, but it also is developing new characters, whether they be soldiers or a Jedi. That's where Ahsoka comes from, and that's what they're kind of building off of. They're taking these characters and they're like, hey, let's give this person this show, this, that, and the other.
And the thing that's cool about that, that's really the last kind of canon Star Wars project George Lucas worked on him, not himself, but oversaw, you know. So that you have that right there. I think that was 5, 7 seasons or something like that, I think. And, for a majority of it, seasons 1, I would say go as far as the first half of season 3 were very dull and boring. Yes, it was more for kids, but this is also the people who are fans and want to know about, what happened during the Clone Wars. Yeah, you want to try and pull the adults who grew up with it, whatever. It didn't work in that amount of time. It only really got good, in my opinion, from the second half of season 3 on, and then it got kind of more adulty. But still, the issue is, in order to get that kind of the information that was put into that, you got, where Darth Maul comes from. You got the Sisters of Dathomir, which is also where Saz Ventress comes from and stuff like that. You're getting a lot of history of these side characters, and you would not understand certain things without really, in my opinion, watching just the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars itself covers a lot of, you know characters and stuff like that, or events, or moves or techniques that you see in these other TV shows now, like the live action shows. Yes, there are other CGI shows like The Bad Batch, which was decent. I still think Clone Wars, the later seasons of Clone Wars were better. One thing I like the little Tales shorts where they kind of like focus on a character for a few episodes and you kind of get a little backstory or something like that about them. And I do like that. But the issue is, from like going back to what I said before, I've always viewed just the movies as canon, and back in the day, so did George Lucas, because that's really what he worked on. Now, granted, like I said, the Clone Wars he kind of oversaw, so yeah, that's canon for him too. Um, if you're like some of the older people out there, you just don't have the time, you don't have the energy to want to just, okay, I'm gonna watch the Clone Wars. 7 seasons is a lot, and especially the first season, I think it was, I'm gonna guess here, like 20 episodes or something like that. That's a lot of time. And then now you got, like I said, you got the Bad Batch, you got the Tale shows, you got Mandalorian, you got Andor, you got the Acolyte, you got
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, you got what's the other show that came out with the kids? I really like that show. I will say
Oh,
that.
Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew, I thought that was really good, a really good show. Watch it if you
The
haven't.
only problem I had with it is that the beginning of it felt like they ripped off the Star Trek show for kids, Prodigy.
Yeah, which I
Um,
haven't seen.
yes, but I mean, I have kids, so that's how I was able to watch it, and it. almost was exactly the same in that both first episodes were almost exactly the same in character development, number of characters. It felt like, yeah, they were stealing, if
Okay.
anything. Um, but yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with Skeleton Crew, and there was a lot of work put into it. And again, it was for kids. It was a direct change.
The best way to describe Skeleton Crew for me is like if you took the Goonies, you mixed it with Star Wars, obviously, and then you also mixed it, or you mixed it with Star Wars, obviously, like I just said, and then you just had Steven Spielberg direct it. It felt like a Steven Spielberg show, and that's what I got. It felt good. That's weird because it felt like how I used to feel when I watched Star Wars. For me personally, it felt good. It felt like there wasn't really too much of any hidden agenda in it. There weren't. It didn't seem like they were trying to push too much on people. It just seemed like a fun romp, you know, on how kids go on an adventure, and that's really kind of what George Lucas, in my opinion, originally set out with Star Wars. It was about a teenage boy who had dreams, and tragedy fell upon him, and he had nothing left to do but go to the stars. Not necessarily chase a dream to be you know, a certain thing, but Luke wanted to be something, and that's what he did. And I felt like this show kind of had that wonder to it, that adventure, and that's one thing I really liked about that show. So Skeleton Crew, I recommend it. It's one of the better shows to come out. But all of that aside, what I'm trying to say is that for a lot of older people that don't have a lot of time in their life, it's hard to get connected to all this stuff and for it to make sense, which I
Yeah,
get.
and that's not even pulling in the comic books.
Exactly, and that fills in a lot of gaps for the Acolyte. Fills what they're trying to do. The main issue that Disney's trying to do right now is damage control 7, 8, and 9. How did what do we do to make this make sense? Really? You just remake it. That's how you do it. But no, I honestly prefer that they don't remake it. They made their bed. You know, it would just be too much confusion. Oh, there's another Star Wars 7, 8, 9, whatever. What's done is done. I'm I'm as fine as I'm going to be with them doing what they're trying to do. As long as by the end it makes as much sense as it possibly can to at least appease some people, I'm all for it. But
Honestly,
yeah.
in my opinion, the best things Disney's been doing for movies is the Star Wars stories. Rogue One,
Oh yeah.
Solo. Um, Instead of it being just the direct numbers, I mean, you could just say that's ended.
Yeah.
We will move on. But those Star Wars stories that they did, um, those stood on their own. They were just a single movie, and they didn't. I mean, I know that they had initially planned to do a follow up to Solo, which I think was just supposed to be Lando,
Yeah.
uh, and they canceled it because of all the controversies and nonsense that was going on at the time. People were boycotting Solo, not necessarily because it was a horrible movie. It was a great movie. And I feel like the audience reception was actually pretty good. But the problem was a lot of people were boycotting it because of other reasons. And so a
Episode
lot of
8
people
mainly.
just didn't see it. Yeah, exactly. Um, so, it I feel like Disney just looks at numbers, right?
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, this movie didn't do well. That means everyone hated it, so we won't touch on that ever again." So we kind of lost out on Darth Maul's return.
Yeah. Which
Uh,
I'm gonna stop you there. Which technically we didn't because he does come back. And another show I completely forgot about. He comes back in Rebels, and we see that he finally dies. Obi-Wan has one last encounter with
yes,
him and finally kills him. But there's a new Darth Maul show coming out, which is gonna take place. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think it takes place after Solo. So
right.
we
That's my point again. Is that it's not in movie form like they initially planned. It is again TV shows. I feel like anything that they are not willing to take a risk on, they'll throw into a show that they can just spend minimal on it and cancel it at any time.
Well, I'll say they'll take less of a risk by turning it into an animated show, which is what this is going to be. And I
which
get
is
it.
another problem because a lot of people don't necessarily watch animated things. So you cut down the viewership just by making it animated.
And then you end up canceling the show because nobody watched it.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm one of those few people that will watch it, but sometimes I'm there and I'm like, this would have been more better for me in live action.
Yeah.
And that goes the problem with Star Wars right now is that there's too many different medias right now trying to interweave a story that if you just kept, in my opinion, if they kept, the numbered movies and then did a few
The Mandalorian.
spin-off movies there, here and there, like, the Star Wars tales or
stories.
stories,
Yeah.
And then if they just did live action shows. But
Yeah.
my opinion is they shouldn't do too many live action shows.
They have kid shows that are animated, and that's fine. That they could very well just continue doing the animated stuff for children, young children, because they never really have too much of a bearing on, if anything, on the actual story going through the main characters, side characters, whatever. It's usually just something completely separated,
But
and
then
that's fine.
But then you get like the clone, because they do have little kid ones, and then they have the Clone Wars and all that kind of stuff, which is more for everybody.
Which is what confuses some people, because there's a lot
Exactly.
of older audience that goes, "Oh, that's just an animated show."
Yeah, and people don't know what to watch, and that's why I figure Disney should have made it make sense just by having, do 1 through 3 seasons of a live action show to encompass what you need to say here, and just keep it live action shows and Star Wars stories for, I honestly, they don't really need the Star Wars story movies if they do a TV show with,
Right.
A point A and a point B, a beginning and an ending at the very beginning to figure out what they need to do and call it a day. And we haven't really got that. We kind of got that with Andor, but then, they jumped the gun and rushed everything, which I get it, but it didn't.
I think a lot of it it will always just come down to money.
Of course.
They'll throw animation on because it's cheaper. They don't have to coordinate actors. They just have to get them into the studio at some point to voice record.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand why they do it, but you're Disney. You make the most money out of any other film studio. Why is this an issue?
Exactly. And why is good storytelling an issue?
Right. You have the most writers at your disposal. This shouldn't be an issue. I guess that just comes down to the old saying, too many chefs spoil the brew, or maybe it is just too many people. I know that's always been an issue for producers.
Yeah.
Coming in and going, no, we need to have this. We need to have a giant spider.
Kevin Smith.
But it just, that shouldn't really be. We've seen with the MCU that they get past that with, Kevin Feige being the one that sets up the boundaries. And he has a clear vision of how the main line throughout all the movies are, and it is cohesive for the most part.
Yeah.
And you can tell when he doesn't have much input into a movie because it does veer. And they're usually movies that don't do too well.
Which is really the main issue with 7, 8, and 9. It was too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes. But it wasn't just that. Now you've got shows, and what one show is setting up as lore, another show is contradicting. So we're getting too many things happening at once. We've already had that kind of addressed. Disney's already addressed their Marvel TV shows coming out too much, and people have been asking them, take it back. Give us quality over quantity. And it seems like they are, at least so they claim, are going to be doing that.
Yes.
Would be nice if they do that with Star Wars, but it feels like Star Wars for them has turned into a liability instead of a franchise that makes money.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. It does seem like after episode 9, they kind of realized, okay, we can't put out another Star Wars movie because they had a whole bunch of different movies greenlit. And for the most part, they canceled 90% of them
Yeah.
because they realized they jumped the gun and they decided to focus on Mandalorian worked, Clone Wars worked. Let's try and focus on these things that seem to be working for a little bit and try and, take our
Well,
time to
that
come up with
was
something.
what the fan feedback has been, right? Like, we appreciate an increased output, but it leads to an inconsistency of quality. It leads
Yep.
to an inconsistency of story. It would be one thing if they had one person overseeing it all, which I guess they do, as Kathleen Kennedy, even though I guess she stepped down from that now, but she
I think she
was.
steps down at the end of this month, I think.
Right. But she was supposed to be overseeing. She was supposed to be the Kevin Feige, right? But it felt like either she wasn't or she just wasn't into it.
Yeah.
You know?
She just kind of just
Didn't care.
Yeah.
Because when you watch a movie, any movie, and the cast, the crew, all have their hearts in that movie, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can see everyone's having fun. A great piece of media is made, and everyone can see that when they watch it.
And to be
it's
fair,
felt.
I could see that in episode 7. It seemed like for the most part, everybody that was there
Oh
did
yeah,
have a great
it was
time
a
making it.
grand, reunion almost. We're bringing back these characters. We're bringing in new characters. Everyone was hyped to be a part of the franchise continuing after George Lucas had basically given up on it, and we know why. Every time he people would beg him for another movie, he'd release a movie, everyone would hate on him for it, and then beg him for another movie, he'd release a movie, everyone would hate on him for him. So,
which is
I
funny, it's still
understand.
happening now.
Yeah,
but worse.
and I understand what. Yeah, but I guess the biggest issue now is that we don't have to beg for anything new. They just keep throwing it at us,
Yeah.
but then the quality is just off.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, well, this one's not for fans of this show. It's for fans of this movie, or and it just feels disjointed.
Yeah, the issue is that they're not making Star Wars. They're making what they think is Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's the best way I can put it. We are getting close out of time here, so I wanna do something fun here. So we've seen a lot of Star Wars. I want to know. We're gonna start this off. What's your favorite prequel trilogy movie?
prequel trilogy movie.
Yes.
Well, it has to be number 3. But I will say my favorite fight scene is, of course, from 1.
Okay.
So, I mean, what was it? I think it was Topher Grace made
He did.
prequel trilogy. He edited it down to 1 movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the best trilogy or prequel movie is Topher Grace's. And for those of you who don't know who Topher Grace is, he was in That 70s Show. And he played the worst version of Eddie Brock. I wouldn't necessarily say he was the worst Eddie Brock. He was the worst Venom.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. He as a person, first of all, I love him. He's pretty cool.
Yeah. He is.
And he's a huge Star Wars fan, and he did that. And you can find it on YouTube. If you want to check it out, kind of just search Topher Grace Star Wars cut, and you'll find a link to it somehow. They keep moving it around because technically he doesn't own any rights to it. So it does get taken down periodically and then re-put up. So, but yeah, no, they should just hire him every time they're putting a movie together. Just be like, hey, you do the editing.
So My favorite is episode 3. My favorite fight is probably the Obi-Wan Anakin fight in episode 3, though.
Of course. I knew it was coming.
So next, what is your favorite original trilogy movie?
So that would be A New Hope. You know, it was the first movie period of Star Wars I had seen. Obviously, I wasn't around when it first came out, so all of the original trilogy was out, but the first movie I had seen was the first movie made. And I fell in love. In fact, you know how kids are. They watch something on repeat. That's how
Yep.
I was. It was that Ghostbusters just
Hell
over
yeah.
and over. And yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of picking up sticks out in the neighborhood and pretending it was a lightsaber. I have relived that movie over and over in my local neighborhood. So that just down to fond memories of it's always going to be my number one.
Okay. My number one is Empire Strikes Back, solely because it is the first movie I have ever seen where the heroes don't win. They come out
Yes,
on a
yeah,
loss. And the thing is, it was kind of the reverse of, A New Hope. The big battle was at the end. The big battle in Empire Strikes Back was at the beginning. And it was just so cool because you find out, Darth Vader's his father. Luke's actually fighting Darth Vader. And you can clearly tell he's no match for Vader. And Vader realistically is holding back because he knows that,
yeah.
Luke's his son. And, he would rather turn him rather than to kill him. And
Honestly, the one thing I'll say about that specific notion that he has, it, as you mentioned, the Force Unleashed was also canon. He also had that with Starkiller,
yeah,
where he had that connection to him, was very hesitant with killing him when he was told to eliminate him, and it it shows that even when Vader was Darth Vader, he had a lot more. He suppressed his dark side a lot,
for
despite
certain people.
certain people, and it almost felt like that he yearned to be a father, right?
Yeah.
Uh, First, I guess technically time wise, with Starkiller, um, he yearned to be that father figure in his life, and then when he realized his son was still alive, and he had that with Luke, it goes to show that there are certain elements that push more powerful than the Force in the canon universe.
Yeah.
And I know that's always been uh, one of uh, uh, one of the themes that George Lucas always tried to push. Love conquers all, no matter what. That's why Luke and Leia had this huge connection, and she was Force sensitive through it. Um,
Even though they're brother and sister, so it makes sense that they have the
yeah,
connection.
and it was nice to see it though on the enemy,
Yeah.
the bad guy. It adds so much more depth to them, especially since there isn't really dialogue to his emotions. It's something that's seen through the acting and his actions.
Yeah. Which is cool because he's wearing a helmet.
Yeah, to be able to convey that kind of deepness through very limited means. I mean, we can talk about how crappy some of George Lucas's writing is, but then there's other things that you're like, oh, he's a sick genius sometimes.
Yes. So, what is your favorite out of the new trilogy?
uh,
We already know the answer, but
yeah, it's definitely the first one, number 7. I it I find it really hard to give too much positive on the very last one. Honestly, there's a lot of it I've completely forgotten about. And
yeah.
I don't want to say it was so bad I had to remove it from memory. It's just on the fact that I've seen it the fewest out of all of the
Yeah.
movies. Just because there's no inkling for me to go back and watch it. I know it's bad and I just don't want to relive it. I have rewatched. Okay, so I know yours is 8. 8
Well,
for
I haven't
me.
said it yet.
8 for me was I hated it initially. I rewatched it over and over, trying to like it, thinking, well, the next movie's going to continue from this. So I have to find a way to like it. And I forced myself to like aspects of it. And then the fact that the next movie comes out and ignores it completely just angered me so much that I hate number 8 because of number 9.
How could you? You were the
Yeah.
chosen one. Yes. Let the hate flow through you, folks. My favorite is episode 8. Sorry or not sorry. I'm not sorry for what I like. I shouldn't be, and neither should you. If you like episode 8, more power to you. If you like episode 9, more power to you. And quickly, I will say this: my least favorite Star Wars movies out of each trilogy. For all the awesome stuff that happened in it, probably episode 1 is my least favorite. Uh, A New Hope is my least favorite, and episode 9 is my least favorite. Even though it's a toss up between Return of the Jedi and A New Hope. Luke with a green lightsaber kicking butt. He was just so badass in that.
He
I gotta
was.
give it to
Yeah.
that. So, what about you? We know 9's your least
Okay.
favorite, or
Yeah.
8's your least favorite, or I don't know what's your least favorite.
So with the prequel trilogy, my least favorite is number 2, and it's mostly down to the too much time given to the love story that didn't even work. Um, and the fact that they even cut it down, because there are deleted scenes
Yes,
that
a
go
lot.
into it even more so, and you're just like, wow, none of this was necessary. Cut it all. Like, you could have just said off screen, like, you could have done it all off screen and just said, oh yeah, so Anakin's totally into her now, and then we would have just been like, okay. Like, just move on. um but yeah, so with the I mean, yeah, and it's always going to be episode 6 with the original trilogy. I mean, the Ewoks.
Yeah, I will say the Ewoks did put a damper on it, but I still like it better than A New Hope.
Yeah, no, I can't say that at all. um I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the Ewoks as a kid, but even as a kid, I was kind of creeped out by them. Like, I thought they were funny when they were doing funny things, accidentally hurting each other and stuff like that, very slapstick. But when you got like a close up on their faces, you're just like, ugh, they look kind of creepy.
They eat people.
Yep.
So, in your episode 9's your least favorite or 8? I wasn't sure on that. You can say whatever you want. It could be 8.
No, I'm gonna say episode 9 only because, like I said, it kept there was so much anticipation to be like, okay, we know it's a trilogy, so this one's going to wrap it all up. And then they're just like, oh, we're going to bring in a villain that no one was prepared for because we didn't set it up at all. And it also doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And then we're also going to make a ton of Disney Plus shows to make it make sense, even though you don't care and would have moved on anyway.
Yes. I mean, I will say, because we're getting to the end here, to wrap things up, favorite TV show, I'll name 2. Actually, can I name? I'm gonna say
Mandalorian.
I'm gonna say my favorite shows. I'm not gonna give a number on it. Favorite shows, no, in no particular order. Mandalorian, The Acolyte. No, I'm kidding. That's actually the worst show. The Mandalorian's one of my favorites. Skeleton Crew is right up there, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Those are my 3 favorite. Even though Obi-Wan,
I had problems with Obi-Wan.
I had problems with Obi-Wan. The Leia problem is what I had the most with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Not needed. She was not needed in that show. I mean, she could have been in the show, but at the capacity she was in it was not needed at all. But
I
yes,
mean, Flea was in it, so there's
I
that.
know. Got to slap at the base, man. But yes, those are my 3 favorite shows.
Okay,
today.
so for me, it's just Mandalorian and the first season of Andor.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, second season minus a couple of episodes.
I mean, now that you're saying that, I will say Andor's like my bonus, and Andor's my bonus
Yeah.
there.
I have slight issue with Skeleton Crew. That's why it won't be my favorite, but I'm not saying it's a bad show. And again, that was just mainly down to, hey, haven't I seen this before? Wasn't this Star Trek? You know, when you have those moments, you're just like, okay, you took me out before it even began. But as far as worst show, the problem is they've had a lot of flops, haven't they?
Yeah,
When it comes to the shows.
if I'm gonna just give a one hands down worst show for me is Acolyte.
Acolyte, yeah.
But I mean,
they had such good fighting scenes in it, though. It's such a shame because there was a lot of build up before the show released, and even as each episode was coming out, and there was problems with this and problem with that, I felt like it still could have ended strong, and it just didn't. And it was very predictable, especially when it came to the two main characters. And you kind of could tell by mid-season exactly how it was going to end for them.
yeah,
And yeah, it also felt disjointed, as we've discussed. Themes were all over the place. People weren't making decisions based on their character. And I also feel like they were demonizing certain characters for no reason at all.
yeah,
So it didn't feel right.
yeah. And granted, I didn't mention a lot of shows. I didn't mention the Book of Boba Fett. I didn't mention Ahsoka in my top stuff. I mean, Boba Fett
Is it sad that the Book of Boba Fett, the best part of it is the Mandalorian parts?
Yes, and like it's down there with the Acolyte. I will say Ahsoka isn't down there with the Acolyte or Book of Boba Fett. It's just it's there for me. It was promising. Beginning was a little rocky, and the end just took me out of it. So like it's not the worst of the worst, but it's not in my favorites. So I don't know. Maybe I put Obi-Wan with that in that territory too. Yeah, I put Obi-Wan in that territory. So my top 3 favorites: Skeleton Crew, Mandalorian, and Andor.
Okay.
And then, granted, we do get some good stuff with the animated CGI stuff. I'm not going to get into that. Although I like parts of all of it, all of the CGI stuff. Some gets really dull, some gets really good. So
Yeah, there's a lot of slow episodes in just about all of it.
that's a blanket statement for that.
Yeah.
Now to the future of Star Wars. I am optimistic with episode 10. I don't know if they're going to call it episode 10. They probably will. I'm
I
optimistic.
hope it doesn't become Rey, a Star Wars story.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that Finn actually has a part as a Jedi, because a lot of the actors have played coy. I know they're just doing it because they're just trying to. They have to. They're under a contract, and they just be like, "Oh, I don't want to come back," whatever.
That's why they didn't hire Tom Holland, right?
Yeah, they want to come back. People, they want to come back. They don't want to make it like they want to come back. So when the new movie comes out, they're not being asked if they're coming back. But guess what? People are going to ask anyway because they're coming back. But
yeah,
I really want to see. The most thing I want to see out of it, I want Finn to be a freaking Jedi. Make it happen. Do him right. In my opinion,
what if he becomes a Sith?
He won't.
Sith Lord.
He won't. He won't. I'm telling you that right now. Finn needs to be, in my opinion, Finn needs to be the main character of this.
I mean,
he really does.
Even though it's
Rey, I feel like maybe the first movie, because Star Wars works in trilogies. The first movie should focus on Rey. Then the next one, I think, should go straight to Finn.
Do you think we'll actually get character development? I mean, we asked for it for 3 whole movies. Well, technically, we asked for it for 2 whole movies after the first one with her, and they still didn't deliver.
I mean, if we look at Disney's track record now, flip a coin. That's all I can say.
Also, do you know who's taking over after Kathleen Kennedy leaves?
I think it's gonna be oh God. Wow. I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember his name. This is really bad. The guy who did Clone Wars. People are gonna roast me so bad. Um,
That one
'Cause
dude. Yeah.
no, because I keep on wanting to say freaking John Favreau, but it's not John
Right.
Favreau. It's
No, he's handling all of the Mandalorian stuff. And I will
yeah.
say something on John Favreau real quick. Disney has done him dirty over and over. Like he literally started the MCU and then they kicked him out. They brought him back, but not into the capacity he was at. And then they brought him back and gave him a throwaway project, which was the live action uh, Jungle Book.
Dave Filoni. It's Dave Filoni. That's
Dave
the guy.
Filoni.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
they need to put Dave Filoni in charge because he was originally, George Lucas's like understudy. He knows Star Wars in and out. Make it happen, Disney. Save
Well,
Star Wars.
yeah. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy was the clear choice when she did take over because she was the producer of the previous movies. She was she was with it early on.
And
You
she was
know,
doing a lot of stuff for Lucas and Spielberg and
yeah,
stuff.
it felt like she would have been perfect, but it also felt like when she got it, she was just like, yeah, I also don't care about any of it, so
It was
let's
one of
let it
those
go to
things.
hell.
Certain people who get power kind of just,
Either
use
don't do anything with it or
do
don't know
too
how to
much with
use
it.
it or yeah,
Exactly.
too much with it, whatever.
Yeah.
It
Exactly. And
felt
I think
yeah.
that's how it went. And
Yeah, I mean also we have to consider how much has she done with the new movie? Because is the new movie really under her? You know,
I think they just are in the script writing stages right now. I think it's set to
so
come out in
anything could
2020.
change because scripts could be completely different from day one of filming to the final day of filming.
Sometimes the script is just the words with the title on it, and then you do it as you go. Episodes
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. I mean 7, 8, 9. But
Yeah, we will find out by the end the entire movie was filmed improv and all of Ray's lines were dubbed over by Seth Rogen.
and Jar Jar is yo. If they had a Seth Rogen Jar Jar character, that'd be pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to see that Jar Jar's cousin.
Oh my god. Yeah.
That'd be great. But
I'm JJ Binks.
light me up. So I am optimistic with this new movie. I know they have another movie. I think it's a Rebel Squadron or something like that coming out. I forget.
Oh yes, yeah.
They have that movie coming out. I don't know anything about it. I'm not
No,
gonna
I think
look.
it's Rogue Squadron, right? Based
Yeah,
on the old video game.
I don't know if it is. I don't want to say too much because I don't know, but it has to do with pilots. So we'll see in space and wars and stars. Star Wars. That's a great name for a movie. But I know they have that movie coming out. I don't know if it'll be a Star Wars story.
Well, we know that they have that movie planned.
Yeah.
As far as coming out, anything can change.
I mean, I think Ryan Gosling? Is Ryan Gosling gonna be in it? I think he's gonna be in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
That's
he's
so
gonna be in
weird
it.
because he has avoided all the franchises for a long time.
And now he wants that Disney
Yeah.
money.
Well, no, he would. I believe. I mean, let's not forget he started in Disney in the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh God.
Yeah, going way back, and he has refused to do anything with Disney ever since. And he's made quite a name for himself avoiding certain
Yep.
studios. So I'll say that. And he's tried to be more of a serious actor of late. Although his best movies always end up being action movies. So
Yeah.
we'll see. He also has one of my favorite books ever being adapted coming out next year, Project Hail Mary. So,
And I saw that trailer when I went to the movies to see Nobody 2. Which, fun fact, we will be doing our
Reviewing.
review about that next episode. So stay on the lookout for
tuned.
that. Yeah, stay tuned. But yes, I am optimistic for Star Wars. Don't do Finn dirty.
yeah,
Give Poe.
seriously, he's such a John is such a good actor, and I've liked most of the stuff. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure if you watched the sequel.
Attack the Block.
No, yeah, that was great. I mean, that was his first big movie. and he was a kid when he did it. That was great. In fact, that also, I guess, while darker, has the Skeleton Crew vibes, right? But no, he did the sequel to Pacific Rim.
Rim.
That was that
I haven't
good.
seen.
Yeah. But also that comes down to writing and other issues. His acting, though, I've never been disappointed in his works.
Yeah, he seems like he seems like a very sincere person,
Yeah.
a very kind person, and I want to see him get his just
His
desserts
due.
and
Yeah.
give him what everybody wanted. Make him
A
a
lightsaber.
Jedi. Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, he
give
had
him
one for a little bit, but
I mean, let's be real. He could never truly be a Jedi, just like no one can truly be a Jedi anymore. Because,
yeah,
he's
the whole
past the age.
well,
He's
the whole concept of Jedi and Sith now are kind of out the window at this point.
right. But let
You know.
him be a Force user. Give him a lightsaber. Even if he is the next badass that has lightsaber and a blaster, and he is like a pro at both. I mean, we already know he knows how to use a blaster.
Yeah,
So
I think we can have some great things. Get some good writing on this. Give John Boyega his due. Uh, give these characters Finn, Poe, and Rey arcs that make sense. There is going to be a time gap. I'm assuming a 10-year time gap in between these movies because technically it's been 10 years by the time it comes out. Make the stories make sense. Make it so
has
we
this,
don't make
has
it.
Daisy Ridley done anything since?
I have no clue. That's how
Oh
much I
yes,
care.
she did. She did the Murder on the Nile or something. The thing with Army Hammer that got shut down for like a couple of years before releasing.
But just don't give us a good character arc with them. You have 10 years in between each. You don't have to give us a lot of content to answer everything that happened. Just
there'll be a TV show for that.
Yeah, there would. I'm just saying they don't need to do that. If you do it right in the first movie, like we didn't know where Obi-Wan was, when we first saw episode 4, his whole thing about the Clone Wars and, how him and Anakin were in the Clone Wars, that's as much as we got of their past, and that's all we needed until we finally got it. But that doesn't mean we need it. Sometimes
like if the
let's
story
show-
actually started on number 4 and moved forward, I don't think anyone would have really been mad.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there would still be people asking for the movies, but we would have done just fine without the prequel trilogy.
Disney needs to do more of tell and not show and tell. That's what they need to do. They ruined Boba Fett by doing that. They ruined a lot of things by doing that.
How do you make
learn the
Boba
lessons
Fett boring?
And move on.
Like that blew my mind that it was that boring.
Disney can do it.
Yeah.
But we're pretty much out of time here, folks. We just want to say that we are optimistic for the future. We love Star Wars. We know you love Star Wars. And if you hate Star Wars, we hate it too, even though we love it. So more power to you out there.
You're such a crowd pleaser, Nate.
Yes. I aim to please. Like a stormtrooper. I can't hit anything. But yes, if you like Star Wars, awesome. If you don't like Star Wars, that's cool too. And you know what? Don't even watch it. Don't do it. In fact, you're doing yourself a service or a disservice if you start watching it because you'll be like the rest of us. So stay tuned for next week's episode where we're going to do our little review on Nobody 2. And any last words you want to say out there, Chris?
Yeah. I'm Chris Sandbrook.
And I'm Nate Slater.
And we'll catch you in the
void.